Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some words of wisdom to give us something to ponder about and hopefully share with others today. We have a card deck we haven't seen in quite some time, and it's an interesting deck because it's very ethereal, in my opinion, but also incredibly grounded. And sometimes I'll read parts of it and go, not quite sure what's being said to me there, but when I get down to the inquiry question, it all falls into alignment. Good morning, Barb. Welcome. You're the first one here today. Glad to have you. Happy day after Valentine's Day. Had a lovely time yesterday, just sitting in the park for a while watching birds, and there was actually even a couple of geese back. Maybe they never left. I'm not sure. The ducks don't tend to go too far, but the geese usually migrate. So, but there were several out there, so that was interesting. So, let me check in here. Feels like there's something niggling right here. It'll drop in when it's darn good and ready. So, we'll see what happens with that. But let's start with some breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Notice how that feels. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Good morning, Nancy, and I'm glad you had a beautiful day, Barb. Yes, it was a lovely day. A lot of snow melted. That was awesome. I'm going to take a walk today and just check out how much snow has added itself back to the river. That'll be good. That'll be good. So I think we have 2 more days of lovely days, then 4 days of warm but rain, and then we'll see where we end up. Somewhere in here, I'm sure we'll go back to cold because this is Wisconsin, and we are not done with that in February. So we'll see. Anyway, another breath in and out. I'm just enjoying how that feels to exhale today. I was before I got up, I was doing some breath work too, and was very aware of the exhale. Good morning, Beth. Welcome, welcome. Glad you are here. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And this morning, yes, the long way to go before the snow's gone. First fall spring. Yes, that's a great way to look at it. Absolutely, and I will enjoy every minute of it. I will. So, today's card deck is the Wild Harmonic deck. I just love that image. By Gabriel J. Marihugh. And also this morning is book club. For those of you who are participating in book club, you should have gotten the link by now. If you have not, send me an email, bonnie@empowermentandpurpose.com, and I'll send you out the link so that you can jump on this morning pretty early. And we have a lot of questions we're going to field. We'll see what appeals to people the most. So here is our card. Interesting visual distortion. Good morning, Gwen. As you look around, notice what seems like foreground and what seems like background. It doesn't make sense. Which is why part of this is called, the title of this is Chaotic Return. It's the Air of Air card, Chaotic Return. So, another breath. Let it go. Air of Air, Chaotic Return. As the interconnected intelligence meets itself, the impossible is realized. So basically what this is saying is there's that universal knowledge, that universal wisdom that we all can tap into at any point in time. But when it truly connects, things that seemed impossible happen. And I think we are right on the cusp of that. Another up-leveling of that, as it were. Tuesday in particular. So pay attention to your Tuesday and see what you notice. So here's the meditation part. Leaps of logic, quantum jumps, unlikely shifts in perspective or approach. So we're going to be doing some traveling of paths we may not have traveled before that may seem, they make us want to shake our head. Travel them anyway. Travel them anyway. And the unconditional allowance of everything as it is. Think about that, even within one human being, the Herculean task of allowing everything unconditionally, just as it is. Good morning to Kennedy, and good morning to you. Glad you are here. Hello, hello. So, let me show her the picture. She'll think this is a hoot. If you look at it, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. In particular, let me get my fingers arranged here. This bar right here. What's foreground and what's behind? All right, let's see what else we got. This is a card calling me into the deepest mysteries of the interconnectedness of all things. It is at once a defiance of reason. Yeah, just like Romper Room. Absolutely so. Glad you are here, Kenners. And a nurturing of true knowing. Now, remember the other day we talked about Gnosticism, G-N-O, gnosis, which means that knowing, that deep sense of knowing, right? Opening the heart is opening to the radical. Opening to the heart is opening to the radical. If I have ideas about what it means to have an open heart, they are shattered as I find my own way. So we're perhaps perceiving this much of it. All of a sudden, it expands. It's like, whoa, I didn't realize that. I think those awarenesses are coming. They're budding. It's the spring of those awarenesses. What leads from one thing to another is but temporary alignment. And when I read that line, what I thought of was the staircases at Hogwarts in Harry Potter. Yeah, for now it connects here. All of a sudden it connects over here. And then it moves again. And trying to figure out, how do I get to upper levels? Ooh, this is good. How do I get to upper levels when the staircases keep moving? So it calls for us to be flexible. It calls for us to be flexible. What leads from one thing to another is but a temporary alignment. And the absurd is smiling behind it all, just waiting its turn to play at being the rational. So another thing that I think about is the old cartoon Mr. Magoo. Some of you remember it. Others of you is way before your time. But he couldn't see well. And so he'd walk, and he'd be about to walk off the edge of a cliff, and a crane would come over with an I-beam on it, and he'd walk across the I-beam, and then the crane would move on with its work. But all of these miracles that kept him alive, because he was on a death path, not being able to perceive when something was dangerous to him. But it always worked out. It always worked out. Now, what if that's the case for us? What if that's the case for us? It works out. It works out in the highest and best good. Not always how we want it to, often not how we want it to, but it works out for the highest and best good. So I love that line. What leads from one thing to another is but a temporary alignment. And the absurd is smiling behind it all. Tell God your plans if you want to hear laughter, right? Just waiting its turn to play at being the rational. And when we get so wound up in the rational and avoiding bad outcomes, seemingly bad outcomes, and playing not to lose, and all of those kinds of things, we rob ourselves of a full life. We rob ourselves of a full life. So here's the question to consider. This is the inquiry question. If one or more of you would like to put this in the feed, that would be awesome. What am I keeping myself from doing because it seems irrational, even though I sense it will be worthwhile? What am I keeping myself from doing because it seems irrational, even though I sense it will be worthwhile? Building an intentional community, anybody? Things don't always make sense, or they don't always, in the lingo of housing, they don't always pencil. You can't always make everything work out on paper beautifully, but it doesn't mean that that concept can't work in reality. Does that mean you want to go crazy with, oh yeah, this doesn't work out at all on paper, let's just blow that off and do it anyway? Maybe not, but maybe. But if it's something where, okay, I can't quite see how this is going to fit with this, keep moving. Keep moving. That may become obvious as you go. Oh yeah, this is how it's going to come together. Maybe you haven't yet met the person, place, or thing that's going to bring it together. But in your continuing efforts in that direction, you open that door. What am I keeping myself from doing because it seems irrational, even though I sense it will be worthwhile? What an awesome question. What an awesome question. So that is your question for pondering or even discussing with somebody who will get it today. Let's see what happens. Have an awesome day. For those of you who will be on book club shortly, I'm looking forward to us finishing up Being Mortal, an awesome book club, and then we'll see where we go from there. You all remember, you are capable of far more than you think you are. Demonstrate that to yourself today. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.